Good morning. My name is Jeremy Tennell with Plowline Media Productions and the Plowline Podcast. Thank you for agreeing to speak with me today. I'm looking forward to exploring and digging into your experiences with your work in Aloha in this interview. This is a practice exercise that will help me generate data for an upcoming assignment, and so I greatly appreciate it. Before we start, I want to confirm that I have your consent to record this interview. That recording will help me accurately capture your responses.
Absolutely. Yes, you have my permission.
Excellent. I'm already recording. Please share your name and a little bit about yourself and your work, if you wouldn't mind.
My name is Dr. Jerry Balrosa Tennell, and I am the founder and the co-creator of Co3 Consulting, which stands for Co-Creating Cohesive Communities. Before we get started, being that this is a practice, can we set the tone for how we're going to do this work? Maybe do some breathing exercise, maybe calling in the ancestors. I know that this is being recorded and it's an assignment, but I think it's important for us to stay true to how we come into this space.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's important that you know that I'm in charge, and so I'll determine, what we're going to be bringing into the space. What I'd like to do is I'd like to just start off on the right foot, and I'd like to bring in our ancestors and maybe breathe into the space a little bit. Would you mind leading us in that, and then give me back the leadership?
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get ourselves comfortable.
Okay.
Have both feet on the ground. And what I want you to do is I want you to just kind of like be present in the moment. Be present in the moment, alo, and just feel your body without any judgment. Just feel what is going on around you. And I want you to just kind of think of all of the energy that is coming from the earth. And as you inhale, I want you to feel the energy of the earth down through the floor, up through your feet, all the way up into your na'au, your belly area, back into this room. I'd like to open up, if you're okay, with a oli or a chant in this space. Are
Yeah,
you
yeah, I think that would be great. How do you say it in your culture?
oli? It's an oli.
Ole,
Oli, not ole. Oli.
ole,
Oli.
ole,
Oli.
ole,
Oli.
ole,
Li.
le.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So this Oli is it's a chant that is usually done in the beginning, and it calls in the ancestors. I'm going to say it 3 times, and it is about calling in and also granting us the wisdom that is intertwined in the stories and the song that we'll share today. Okay. E hong mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au. O nā mele e. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au. O nā mele e. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. O nā mea huna no e au. O nā mele e. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. Thank you. Now we may begin, and I give the power back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to talk about aloha.
It's aloha. It's
Aloha.
not aloha.
Aloha.
I am not going to do this.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Okay. Okay, here we go. Thank you for sharing that. I
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Tell me about your experience with aloha as a girl or young woman growing up on Oahu.
Growing up in Honolulu on the island of Oahu in the state of Hawaii, um, aloha was just a greeting, just a hello and goodbye. It was something that we would say when people would come in or when people would leave, especially if people are coming in from the continent to the island, we would say aloha or ahuiho, right? But aloha was something that it was just a greeting for me until later on.
And why do you suppose it had no further depth than hello? You never use it in a context beyond hello, goodbye.
No, because I mean, it's like I grew up, I'm a kid of, the late 60s, early 70s, right? So we had like Don Ho and we had like all of these Hollywood movies and everything like that. And that's all it was, right? So it's like if we would see it on television that some person is saying aloha as they're coming in, that's what it became. It
Hmm.
became that. So there was no depth beyond that.
And when you're using those descriptors, can you go deeper with what you mean by that? Like, what is the imagery and and the iconography behind
Oh my gosh.
aloha of that age?
Hawaii Five-O, Elvis Presley, Blue Hawaii, right? Uh, plastic leis and hula skirts and waikiki and ukulele and tiny bubbles. That is what aloha was. So yeah, that's what was given to me growing up as a girl on
And
Oahu.
and in the context of that time period of the late 60s and early 70s, where were you on the island in relationship to where this epicenter of this was all taking place?
Like 10 minutes away.
Really?
I was, yes. So I grew up in the Valley of Palolo, in the projects of Palolo, which is tucked away on the east side of Honolulu. So just a little bit, just a little northeast of Waikiki. And so it's like we were probably about 10, 15 minutes away. My parents worked in Waikiki. And so, it's like it was all around us. It was all around us. My sister danced hula and it was like that's what I saw. And so in regard to the epicenter, we were literally right there.
Hmm. And and in context to that, how were the people of your community engaged in that particular community?
Well, so, I mean, it's like aloha was something that, even though it was a greeting, the way that we cared for each other, the way that we looked out for one another, I feel that was the depth of aloha in that community, I would say. It's like growing up, everybody that I knew, everybody that I knew were my aunties and my uncles, right? So it's like they lived all around me. It's like we lived in a village. It was
Hmm.
like we lived in a village. And everyone cared for one another. Everyone fed each other. Everyone was cared for. And so that's kind of like how we grew up. I mean, we would go down to the grocery store. It would be like auntie, at the register. We would jump on the bus, and that would be uncle driving the bus. So everybody cared for one another. And so, I mean, that's how the community I grew up in was.
And that seems like it's in contrast to what you originally described as aloha of the day.
Well, it's because I didn't know what it was. It was
Mm,
just lived.
mm,
So if somebody asked me what aloha was, I would just be like, oh, it means hello and goodbye, right? I didn't realize back then that I was actually living aloha, right? I had to go away from home and then come back and to see and realize that. But as I reflect on my childhood growing up and the way that we all cared for one another, and I mean, like seriously, till today, till today, the people that I grew up with, they will still see still see me as cousin, and I will still see them as cousin. And their parents are my aunties and and my uncles. And so it was a very strong, tight community. And so, as I understand aloha today, I realize that throughout my entire life, I was already living aloha.
as you reflect back to that time, was there a cultural conflict between how aloha was being represented in this Waikiki media Hollywood culture and the way that aloha was being lived out?
Well, what I can share is during that time, I had no idea, right? It's like I had no idea. It wasn't until later on I realized that there was a conflict between how Hollywood was portraying the people of Hawaii and what was really happening. And so this is where, I call in Palahi Paki. So Palahi Paki, back in 1986, actually went to legislature and said, we need to make the spirit of aloha law. And she did that. And, I mean, she was started to talk about it like back in the 70s because the way Hollywood was misrepresenting my people, right? Misrepresenting them as just like hula dancers and surfers and hang loose. And, it's like we're lazy and we just want to like go to the beach and all of these things. And so there was a misrepresentation of who we are as a people. And so by 1986, Palahi Paki went to legislature and she said, you know what, we're going to make the spirit of aloha law. And she did that because she understood that if we were going to go to Hollywood, or if she was going to walk into a room and she was going to let people know that, yo, listen up, you are all misrepresenting our people. She was angry by it, right? She was angry. There's a lot of us that were, I mean, I'm sure that there were a lot of people that were angry about that. But she also knew that if she walked into that room with anger, she would be met by that same kind of anger,
Mm,
and probably even more because being an indigenous Hawaiian woman walking into Hollywood with a whole bunch of white men, she would have been met with something that, with that kind of rage that probably would throw her out and she wouldn't be heard. So
mm,
she's like, we're going to make the spirit of aloha law. And so she wrote the first acronym of Aloha, the ALOHA. And she did it in Olelo, Hawaii. So it is for akahai, kindness, to be expressed with tenderness, lokahi, unity, to be expressed in harmony,
mm,
olu olu, agreeable, to be expressed with pleasantness, ha'a, humility, to express with modesty, and ahunui, patience, to be expressed with perseverance. Because I believe that she knew that this was the only way that she would be able to uh, quell the anger or the flame of that supremacy that she probably would have been met with.
mm,
And she did it with aloha.
mm,
And aloha, yes, it means a lot. It means hello. It means goodbye. It means love. It means compassion. It means empathy. It means all of that, which means that if the spirit of aloha is law for the people of Hawaii, then I'm just obeying the law
mm.
in sharing
Yeah.
aloha. And so.
it seems to me that there must have been an economy around this marketed uh, form of aloha of the 60s and 70s, which means that the people in Hawaii must have been making a living off of it. I mean, it must have sustained them somehow. Did you have family or friends that engaged in this marketplace and were able to pay their bills?
Everybody, my whole entire family, my whole entire family are entertainers.
Hmm.
And, it's like till today, they are still in Waikiki. You can still find my family playing music and dancing hula and, doing all of that. And yeah, it is. It became a way to survive. It's like, all right, so people from Hawaii, they understood that, all right, the people from the continent are coming and this is what they want. And so, it's like they gave them what they wanted. And as I'm talking to you this about, talking to you about this, Jay, you know that I'm feeling it all in my na'au. I'm feeling it in my gut right now because, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think I was going to get emotional. Oh, okay, just give me a minute. I think it's difficult to know what I know now
Hmm.
and to reflect to see what happened to Hawaii, to my people, and to what they need to do to survive.
Mhm.
And so, yes, there are, they are entertainers and they are, you know, giving 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 the tourists what they want. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that is being poured into tourism in Hawaii. With all my family being entertainers and doing what they're doing, they shouldn't have to work 3, 4, or 5 jobs. They should not have to do that. But that is what's happening. It's like my uncle and my brother-in-laws, they're still playing music. They're still playing music. And their music and what they're doing, they should be getting paid way more than what they're doing right now. They should not have to work 7 days a week in order to survive.
Yeah.
And so, yes, Hawaii it's beautiful and everybody wants to go there, right? Everybody loves my culture. Everybody wants to take my culture. But do they want to take my struggles too? Do they
Mm.
want to take the struggles of my people as well? And so it's difficult to, on one hand, talk about the power of aloha and how aloha is it means love and grace and compassion and empathy, and at the same time knowing that we live in a society and in a world that doesn't know how to reciprocate that back. It pisses me off, and yeah, I'm angry about it.
So I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. Uh, when you look back at, you know, you grew up in a time in the late 60s and early 70s in which, um, since Hawaii is being marketed and that marketing machine had been in rolling for, you know,
Yes.
30, 40 years at that point. Um, and it's still rolling today. Uh, how do you think your father, who grew up in Oahu, how do you think your father saw the transition from his childhood of Hawaii to your childhood of Hawaii to your children's childhood of Hawaii? What does that trajectory look like?
For my dad, probably progress, right? My dad grew up in a home that didn't even have a floor, right? They, he lived when there was dirt floors and an outhouse, right? And then from there we moved to the projects up over in Palolo, and it was a community, and a strong, like I was saying, a strong knit community. And I didn't know that the projects was a place where, this is where the poor people lived. And it's like I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that, every month we would get the government cheese. I didn't realize. I thought these were just nice people giving away food. I had no idea. I'm like, yes, we're going to go to the office and we're going to pick up our government cheese. So I had no idea. And then, it's like, when the boys, when my sons started to grow up, they didn't live in Hawaii very long, right? It's like it was going and coming and everything. And so, for if my dad was alive, and he would he would probably see it as progress. He would probably feel that it's good that we're not living on the island anymore, because there's more opportunity, and that's what every parent wants, right? Is for their child to be more successful and have more opportunities than they have. So I think that's what he would say, although I don't think, I mean, home is medicine for me. So being away from home is, it's hard. It's difficult to live in the diaspora, where I'm not near, my people, or my food, or my medicine, or my music. Although living here, it's like I do what I can to make myself feel like I'm home, right? It's like I have my heat on, I have humidity going, I have tropical flowers growing, anything to keep me as close as home as possible. I have always my same mug, right? That always says Hawaii. So it's like, yeah, I do what I can, but it's not easy to live in a diaspora.
It's uh, I wonder if you might share some thoughts on the contrast between the things that you just listed and the stories of your father, um, coming home from school and picking fruit and fishing to sustain the family, but also you um, doing something similar, and how that transition has moved.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, growing up, that's, yeah, my dad was a fisherman, right? If it was, just fishing with a pole, or, spear fishing, right? Anything. I mean, he was like, that was our resource. That was our source of food. And we loved it. I thought everybody did that. I thought everybody's dad would go and dive down 20, 30 feet and come up with an octopus around its neck and bite its eyes out and everything like that, right? I thought everybody's dad did that. Growing up, that's what we experienced, watching my dad go fishing and my mom on the beach with the hibachi, getting ready to cook everything up. And it was something that was just like amazing. And then, moving here, I would work towards finding places where I can get my fresh poke, not a poke bowl. I don't know what the hell is a poke bowl, but the real poke bowl does not come with corn or carrots or whatever it is, right? But I would work towards finding my food, although it wasn't the same. You know, it wasn't the same. It was being flown from Hawaii. The fish here is different. Although salmon is something that I really like here, and I love the fact that our youngest son is a fisherman, so he's really pulling after his grandfather, and you know, I mean, he loves to go fishing and he loves the water. The contrast is the temperature, the type of food, the weather, you know, all of those things are contrasting, but I also think it also helps to expand my horizon of where we live and, you know, the connection to Aina
Yeah. And those plants are in pots, and that
and these
that that light
yes.
behind it is artificial, as well as the humidity and the heat. And but
Yes.
along with those plants and yourself, that story of leaving the island is not unique. Could you talk a little bit about the transition that is taking place with Hawaiians and Polynesians?
That everybody's leaving the island because they can no longer afford to live there.
Yeah.
And that everyone is being priced out of paradise. Vegas is becoming the ninth island where a lot of the Pacific Islanders, Polynesians, Kanaka Maoli are moving to. And yeah, there are more of us living on the continent than it is on the island. And so if there was a way to go back to the island,
Mm.
you know, that would or go back to the island more often. That would be that would be awesome. But yeah, a lot of people are being priced out. You know, when you have people from the continent coming in and buying up all of these homes and everything and having these land grabs and just, you know, just taking. They don't even live there. And then they're making money off of Airbnbs and everything like that. It just shoots up the cost of living for everybody else that's there. And so it's like, you know, even thinking of trying to go back home, it's like you can't even afford it. I mean, it's like when you're paying, I mean, right now we're paying like $14 for, you know, a dozen eggs up here in Seattle. They're paying like $20 for eggs in Hawaii.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, everyone is leaving. And so, what does that say? What does that say about our island? What does that say about us as a people? How do we get our medicine? How do we get our fresh fruits, the fresh fruits that I would be able to just pick from the tree, right? It's like these are the things that this is what makes me me. You know, it's like I'm not able to just put my feet in the water and, you know, go swimming and do all of those things where I can just feel like myself. I can't do that here. And when you separate yourself, when you pull people away from the place that centers them, right? You pull them away from their medicine, you pull them away from their food. They're going to have to figure out how to survive here with the bare minimum. And that's not living fully. You can't fully thrive.
So, how many years have you been on the mainland?
A long time.
Yeah.
A long time. 40 years. 40
And
years.
how many years? And you moved back and forth between here
Yeah.
and Hawaii a few times.
Yeah.
Uh, and you began your dissertation in what year?
After what? 2016?
And
2016?
you decided to do a dissertation on aloha.
Yes.
So when you first were getting involved in your dissertation work and taking your coursework, you had this idea of doing it with aloha before it became what it is. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the naivete that you had about it before you started really digging into it?
Well, so I wanted to do my dissertation on aloha. I wanted to step back into or reclaim my power as a Indigenous woman. And I was like, well, everybody knows aloha, so let's just, I'll do it on aloha. But then as I was digging deeper into what it meant, I just discovered that it was more than what was given to me.
Hmm. Elaborate a
So,
little bit on that.
so um, in the beginning, like I was saying, I thought that aloha was just a greeting. But when you look into the dictionary, you see where is my when I when you look into the dictionary, sorry, I've been carrying this dictionary around with me throughout my whole entire dissertation. And when you look at aloha, the word aloha, it says love, compassion, empathy, charity, grace. It means all of those things, right? And those are some very powerful words. And so I was really curious on the question came up is, wait a minute, if it means all of these words, why does it mean that? Why does
Hmm.
it mean charity? Why does it mean love and compassion and grace? What does it mean? And so I understood that aloha, in any indigenous language, one word can have many, many meanings, but it's always rooted in something deeper. It's always rooted into something deeper. So I was like, okay, well, what's the etymology of aloha? Does alo mean anything? Does ha mean anything? What is going on? The first time I started to think about the etymology of the word, um, we were driving, I think we were over on Hilo, we were on Hawaii Island. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, the etymology of aloha. So I looked up alo. I looked up alo. You remember we were in the car and I looked it up and I was like, what does
Yeah, I
alo
remember.
mean? And then it's like alo is forward facing front, presence. And I'm like, whoa, that's deep. Forward facing front, presence. Okay. So what does ha mean? And then I looked up ha and it meant to exhale. It meant that it was the breath of life. And it was in that moment I was like, holy cow, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yes, aloha is a greeting. It's a greeting of people coming together face to face. Alo. When we engage in conversations, our words are transferred through breath. Ha. So then I started to think about it. I was like, oh my gosh, when we are greeting someone for the first time, we are also acknowledging their whole entire presence in the present, their whole entire soul, their whole entire spirit. And as we open our mouth to speak, we are acknowledging the breath of life.
Can you give a little bit of context into the dictionary that you're talking about? Because the native language of Hawaii, Olelo Hawaii, is not a written language. So, can you give a little bit of context there?
Yeah, so this Hawaiian dictionary was written by Mary Kavena Pukui and then Samuel H. Elbert. And so when and I may this is just my interpretation of it, so it's like, we might have to go a little bit deeper into it. But this was written like I don't know when it was written. It was written a long time ago. Let's see. Let me see. In 1980, the first one was in 1957.
Hmm.
So in 1957 is when Mary Kavena Pukui partnered with the University of Hawaii, and that's where I think she met Samuel Elbert. And they
Hmm.
started to create the dictionary, and they started to have all of these words, all of these Olelo Hawaii words that was put into a written form, which I think is awesome because now it's in a written form, so it can never be lost. And so that's the short version of it. Um,
Was there a threat of it being lost?
Well, I think in any language, right? I think in any language that when you when you're when you talk when you have just a certain amount of people that you're speaking to, there could be a loss of language. There also could be a misinterpretation, just like with anything else, because I think there would, there's a possibility of, like, we're all human, so there's a possibility of um, bias that goes into it. There's a possibility of prejudice. There is of course, the overarching thread of it is colonization as
Mm.
well too. And so I think um, with what was written here was done with the intent to capture Olelo Hawaii, so that way it would never be lost. Was there things that was not put into this dictionary? Possibly. I'm not sure. But of course, that would take a whole entire research to, find out if there were. But this is a pretty thick book, and yeah.
And as kind of a first effort to try and capture the Hawaiian language in an official written form, um, etymology isn't necessarily present. Is that correct?
You know, that's a really interesting question. Is etymology present in this?
Yes.
I would say so in some. So again, it's like this is just my interpretation and how I'm kind of deciphering what was written here. So for example, aloha, right? So I'm gonna look up aloha here. And again, it's like sometimes people take things very literal, where what is said in here is what it is. Sorry, I have to change my glasses. I'm at that age where I need like different glasses. Okay, so this is what aloha says. So aloha is affection, compassion, mercy, sympathy, pity, kindness, sentiment, grace, charity, greeting, salutation, regard, sweetheart, loved, loved one, beloved, compassionate, lovable, to show kindness, mercy, pity with affection, right? So it just keeps going
Is
on.
there an etymological reference within that definition?
It does not. It does not.
So
It
you
has
made the
like,
connection with alo and ha.
well, the only, yeah, I mean, it's like, so, I mean, they have like aloha ahi ahi, ho aloha, aloha aina, right? So they have that there. But aloha is, in this sense, is one word. I just wanted to see if there was a deeper meaning, or if there was such a thing as, sometimes we put two words together, right? Olu olu, ha'a ha'a, right? It's like nui, that means great. So I just wanted to see if, like, well, if we
Can nui, a word like nui, be used in a context with another word?
aloha nui,
Oh,
right? That means great love. Mahalo nui loa, that means, a big thank you, right? So it's like, because I know that in the Hawaiian language that sometimes we can have two words put together. I just thought, well, let's see if alo and ha meant anything.
yeah.
And so I looked it up. And so when I went back into the dictionary, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see. Let's see what alo means. So alo, the first is front, face, presence, upper surface, as a bow, leeward, um, grandchild reared by grandparents, right? So it's like, but front, face, presence, upper surface is all alo.
Mm.
And so I'm like, okay. I also understand that in any indigenous language, it is grounded in something else, right? It's
Mm.
grounded in something spiritual, something greater than ourselves. And so I was like, okay, well, forward facing front presence. Well, let's see. Let's see what ha is. So I grabbed the dictionary again and I looked up ha, and I was just curious. I guess this is what happens when you're in a doctoral program, right? Everything becomes research.
Yeah.
So ha. So there's ha without the kahakol, without the line above, and that is sane. Ha with the kahakol means, hold on here. Oops. Okay. So it means to breathe, exhale, to breathe upon, as kava after praying and before prognosticating. Breath, life, breathe into an open space. The spirit of his mouth, the breath of his mouth. So as I was reading this, I was like, the spirit of the mouth, to breathe, to exhale. Alo means forward, front, facing, presence. And ha means the breath of life, the spirit of the mouth. And I was like, oh, holy cow. I wonder if my ancestors knew that aloha was so much deeper than what was given to me, what was marketed and sold back to the people of Hawaii as just a greeting, as hello. Right. And so I'm like, wait a minute. I think they understood that as we greet one another in presence, in conversation, in the words that we share, the spirit of the mouth, that's energy. That's
Mm.
energy. That's also life, the spirit that represents life. So if we are transferring our words through our breath, through the spirit of the mouth, through life, and life is sacred, then our words should be sacred too. And not just the words that we speak to one another, but more importantly, the words that we say to ourselves, that internal dialogue, the words that become policies, the words that become laws. This is the spirit of the mouth. And so it's like that's something that I feel should be honored. And so, yeah, that's how aloha and the aloha, forward facing front presence, and my dissertation came about is through that.
So in your dissertation, you decided to also break aloha down into a acronym, but
Yes.
instead of using Olelo Hawaii, you used English.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that idea?
Yes. So, like I was saying with Auntie Palahipaki, she wrote the first acronym of Aloha, and it was for us, how we are going to conduct ourselves. The guiding principles of Aloha that I wrote in my dissertation is an expansion of that. But because also aloha is not confined to the reefs of my island, aloha is something that is to be shared all over the world. The guiding principles of aloha and the acronym that I came up was, how do we engage in this spirit of the mouth? How do we honor each other's presence as we are engaging in conversation, as we are meeting each other, as we're, in each other's space? And so the guiding principles of aloha that I came up with is to ask questions, to inquire, so that way we don't make any kind of groundless judgment or, assumptions. Listen with the intention to understand and not judge. And if you're going to ask questions and you're going to listen, sometimes we don't like what we hear. So we need to observe what is happening in our body, observe the somatic response that not just in our body, but also what's happening with the person in front and the energy that is being exchanged between, people. So always being in, observation of that, to always come from this place of heart focus. Heart focus, I feel, is the place that um, where aloha lives, where
Mm.
aloha and compassion and love and empathy resides, is in the heart. And we could go deeper into it, but also the heart is it's the largest organ in our body that actually emanates this electric magnetic field that can be felt like, it's like 3 feet away from each other, right? And then to always the final A in aloha is to adapt and acknowledge that when we're able to adapt and acknowledge to differences, understanding that we come from different places with different ideas, with different biases, with different prejudice, with different everything, that we can probably, if we adapt, we would expand our knowledge instead of narrowing it down.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. There also seems to be this mindfulness component to the way you're breaking down aloha with presence and breath. And can you did you make any connections with that in regards to aloha and heart and those ideas?
Oh yeah. We could go deeper into it, and I have a tendency to do that. It's like I digress, but one of the things is becoming a trainer with the Institute of Heart Math. Understanding and realizing that, wait a minute, in this place of heart focus, what does that mean? What does being heart focused mean? And what is my presence what does it play into when I'm walking into a space? And so with the Institute of Heart Math, that's where I found out that we actually have this electric magnetic field that can be felt at least 3 feet away from our body, while our head has its same signals, but it's only like 12 inches from the brain.
Mm.
And so whatever we have in our heart is felt, because when you're around other people and they're 3 feet within you, your energetic fields are combining. They're being felt, right? They feel that. We never talk about that. We always ask ourselves, wait a minute, we have a cell phone. Where is that signal coming from? Right? Where's that signal coming from? We never talk about the fact that when we walk into a room, it's like, ooh, I don't know about this place, right? And so it's like, finding out about what heart focus meant, it did naturally bring in this mindfulness part of it,
Mm.
right? To be observing your body, observing what words are you saying to yourself? What words sometimes people can say certain words that are coming out of their mouth, but their heart has a different intention,
Mm.
right? So it's like people will hear what's coming out of your mouth, but what's really impacting the universe and everything else is what's coming out of your heart. So
Wow.
I never ask, I stopped asking people, how are you? I always ask people, like, how's your heart? How's your spirit? Because that will tell me like where you're at. Instead of just how you doing. You can say anything because whatever words come out of your mouth.
The spirit of mouth.
Hmm. Yep,
Yeah. That's why connecting it to the heart's so important.
exactly.
Yeah. I the way that you have described aloha, it seems to me that you've turned you've reclaimed this thing that you are able to carry with you no matter how far away you are from your island. Can you
Um,
talk a little bit about that?
yes, yes. And I don't know, I keep kind of struggling with reclaim. Did I reclaim it or did I rediscover it? Right? It's like I feel like I've always had it.
Mm.
I just didn't know that I had it. I
It
just
was
needed,
present in auntie and uncle and
Yes.
growing up in that way,
Right.
and you rediscovered it.
Yes.
How does
Yes.
that relate to all of those Kanaka Maoli and Hawaiians and Polynesians that no longer live on their islands?
I don't know because I don't speak for every Pacific Islander, Kanaka Maoli, or Polynesian. I can just speak for myself and my experience. I feel that when you understand what it means to live aloha, that no matter how far away you are from the islands, it is an invitation. It is an invitation to share aloha, but you have to know how to live aloha first.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like you can't invite aloha or invite others to share aloha if you don't know how to do it for yourself.
And that's where those guiding principles come in.
I think that's where those guiding principles come in. Yeah. And because when we are engaging in conversations, especially in today's society, right? There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of disinformation, there's a lot of things that is going on, that is happening, that we are not taking the time to ask questions.
Hmm.
We're definitely not taking the time to listen to one another. We are not observing what's happening in our bodies. All we're doing is reacting, is what we're doing, which pulls us away from being heart focused and our inability to adapt. And so, aloha is an invitation to be able to take a breath, to be present, to lean into curiosity, to observe what is happening, to always come from this place of being pono, of standing up for righteousness and for justice, but not in a way where it's going to perpetuate more harm, but to bring grace and peace.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that and for sharing your story and your journey through Aloha. Is there anything else that you would like to share here in closing?
Yes, I do. Um, I just, a lot of times people when people hear me, when people are around me, I hear a lot that it's like I exude this presence of aloha, and every time around people they're like, oh my gosh, I just need to hug you, because they want to like have some of that energy. And I have to let people know that I also have this very I have this I'm angry. I'm always angry. I'm always angry. I can go from 0 to 50, right? 100 in 10 seconds flat. But it's taken a lot. It has taken maturity. It has taken knowledge. It has taken experience. It has taken me harming other people to really understand that I don't have to, I don't have to suppress this anger, because this anger is what keeps me going. And I also know that grace is important when it comes to this. And so I actually coined the term gracious anger. And gracious anger is understanding that you are able to hold anger and grace simultaneously, that you're
Mm.
able to do that. And so I have a monthly get together called Gracious Anger. I'm still working out the details and everything like that, but once a month, I'm going to be putting out just a call for individuals that want to come into the space and be able to, hold space for one another on what it means to be angry and how to have grace and how to have aloha. And then I also have a workshop, an online workshop um, that's going to be happening in April. So, but they could go on to co3consulting.net/courses, and that's co3 the number 3 consulting.net/courses, and they'll be able to see whatever workshops we'll be holding there.
And how can folks find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Aloha Dr. G. I'm on Facebook, Dr. Jerry Balarosa Tanel, and then also on LinkedIn as well too as Dr. Jerry Balarosa. And so they can find me there or on the website, www.co3consulting.net, or also the evolutionofaloha.com. And that's where I have a lot of, I have information about just the other things that I'm doing and the books that I have, the children's book, Let's Live Aloha. This one right here. Love this book. And yeah, they can order from there. So then that way they can order the Let's Live Aloha book anywhere. But if they order it from the website, then I'm able to autograph it and send it out for them if they wanted an autographed copy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. I really appreciate it. And your insights are incredibly valuable uh, for my personal practice. I know for others, and for what we're trying to do here. I'll analyze this information and we can discuss it further if you'd like, and then I'll share with you the findings once they're available.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Kahui hou.